Put it back later.
Okay, good morning, colleagues. It is now 8 o'clock, and we can go ahead and call this Committee on Appointments meeting to order. Hope you all are doing well. We have a number of items on our agenda today. The first being a resolution approving the City Commission's appointment of Jim Talon to the City of Grand Rapids Affordable Housing Fund Board. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Colleagues, this is sort of the second installment of our Affordable Housing Fund Board. We did 4 last time. We're doing the 3 today, and we still have 2 that are outstanding, right? Commissioner helps me with the math. There's 11 total, and so I think Jim will be a sound voice on this board as somebody who's been very actively involved in housing efforts in this community and understands not only the qualitative side, but certainly the quantitative side around the realities of our housing, so.
Yeah.
I know Mr. Talon. He's a good guy. He's a very rounded individual, so he will be a great asset.
Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
It carries. Thank you. The next one is a resolution approving the City Commission's appointment of Daniel Drent to the City of Grand Rapids Affordable Housing Fund Board. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All right. Colleagues, Commissioner Reppert, would you like to say a few things
Yeah,
about
sure.
Mr. Drent?
Boy, Daniel and I met 14 months ago when I asked him if he would be interested in serving on this board. But he lives in Hartside. Last year he won Dwelling Places Resident Award for engagement in the neighborhood, and I think that he'll offer a voice with some lived experience, but also someone who lives in Hartside and is surrounded by the unhoused population in many ways. So I think that he's going to be a good addition.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll also add, I think with these, you're not seeing the full board all at once, but I do think we worked to find a reflection of those that had direct experience with our housing systems, maybe have been unhoused themselves, with those that have been involved with different projects and with technical experience. So I hope that when the full board is seen that it'll show that intention to make sure that multiple voices are represented.
Absolutely.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Carries, thank you. The next is a resolution approving the City Commission's appointment of Floyd Wilson to the City of Grand Rapids Affordable Housing Fund Board. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
I will add on here with Mr. Wilson's appointment, having individuals who have an understanding of construction and development pieces there, as well as all of the people that we have selected. We really wanted to stay committed to those. While this is a regional issue, we did want the Grand Rapids Affordable Housing Fund Board to be made up of those who lived in Grand Rapids, so that's also important to us.
Yep.
Any other comments, colleagues? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carries, thank you. The next is a resolution approving the City Commission's appointment of Marlon Fine to the Public Safety Committee.
So moved.
Support.
Okay, this is Commissioner Jones's appointment. Mr. Fine has been very actively involved as it relates to a variety of public safety issues in our city, and I'm pleased that he will continue to do so on our public safety body.
Agreed.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that carries. The next is a resolution confirming the city manager's appointment of Michael Bernier to the Grand Rapids Housing Commission. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
This is as you see, is our city manager's appointment. There are different requirements on the body, and City Clerk, do you have any comments about?
This is a resident appointment.
Yes.
So I think this is replacing Angela Bunn.
Yes, I believe that is correct. I chatted briefly about this with Mr. Canfield, but if you all, just a reminder on that body, there's different requirements about who serves on the board, and so it's fulfilling that resident voice.
If you got the Grand Rapids Housing Commission newsletter that came out like this either late last week or I think it was late last week, there was a nice article about Ms. Bunn and her service on that board, which was really good.
Thank you for sharing that, City Clerk.
Yeah.
Right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that carries, thank you. That concludes our work today, but let's go down, or our official resolutions, but let's go down to the detail about what we have outstanding. So as city clerk scrolls down,
We have-
gives me a little bit of a,
We have a new computer in here, so it's a lot faster, so I'm like,
Whoa.
and so it's, so.
well, you better adjust your scrolling then.
I know, which is good, because it was bogged down, but, so this, here we go.
Just, it's a very sensitive operation here. So, we still continue to have a few openings on the Board of Art and Museum Commissioners. I want to make sure I always say that right, so people don't confuse it with their board. So those are, there's 2 there, which I know I've talked to a few people who have shown interest and just had connected with Dale in the past, but need to reconnect with Dale because obviously want him to be part of that, and there were some other names from before. We talked about the Affordable Housing Fund Board, so we just filled 3, so there will be 2 more that will come on. We're just working through, Daniel, thank you, we're just working through the vetting process, which can take a little bit of time, especially when we had a number of ones at the year end and just trying to go through a variety of things. So I don't think we have any updates on any other proposed names, thank you. Our Civil Service Board, we have shared with our board and that body that we have this remainder, but we'll also plan to have another vacancy come the end of the first quarter into the second quarter, but I don't have a name to forward, and I don't think we have any applications for that body, Daniel.
Okay.
I think we had talked about that at the end of the year. With the Community Relations Commission, are these, I know we did a few last time.
Right.
So these are still 2 that are out there, and it's not anybody who's waiting to get reapproved?
Correct.
Okay. All right, just when we get there, they
Exactly.
keep on staying there.
Up and down.
And I think, I know we had talked about some names. The mayor had a name too at the end of last year, and that person had asked about 2022. So I will follow up with the mayor about that. If you recall, I'm good on the construction one, city clerk, but the downtown development and the DID, we had discussed those ones as both the mayor having some names and also individuals that were getting reappointed. So I don't have any additional updates for that unless, Daniel, there's been any updates with any PIFs that were outstanding. And on the DID, that's everybody who's waiting to get renewed. Or,
There were a number of former board members that have chosen not to reapply.
Okay.
So that's where the large number of vacancies comes from.
okay. And if you recall, the mayor joined us, I think, for our last meeting or the meeting before. And she had shared that she has some names that she's working through. So I'm sure she will share that with Daniel, and we'll get those on a next body. So just know that. For economic development in Brownfield, this one is still open. There were some names that the mayor and I discussed at the end of last year too, but have not moved forward on those.
Okay. I've shared that with one person, but I don't believe they've submitted their PIF yet.
The Brownfield,
Yeah.
yeah. I think some of the conversations were end of December, early January. It feels like in February and March, people are going to be more ready to kind of say, I'll do this application and would like to be considered, so. And then for the other 2 bodies, I don't have any updates as those ones are really, obviously, our city liaisons and things like that. Our historical commission, those ones are all truly open and are not any of the pieces on that. Daniel, I think we had some names that were interested, but I know some people who had listed the historical commission were also interested in other bodies, and I think we may have put them towards previous ones at the year end.
Correct.
Okay. So if you can pull, at least on here, if there's any that have come open, I know I had a few conversations, this week, not that this is the only place, but we don't have those events where we used to go to anymore, commissioners, but this week is the East Town has their annual meeting, so if I'm allowed a few moments, I'll be sharing that we have a number of openings on our body, different bodies, and for people to consider. But if you could pull that one, Daniel, I think that would be great, because usually sometimes people will list maybe 2 or 3 bodies that they're interested in, and we may have prioritized other bodies at the time. This one, the Housing Commission, this will Yep, thank you. CAB continues to remain open. I know the mayor shared that she has somebody that she was thinking about. Commissioner Moody, I know you had shared that previously, so I don't know if you have any updates about an appointee for that body.
I do. Mr. Howard, did he apply a PIF? Reggie Howard?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
My Excel is being very slow at the moment. I apologize. So,
Okay.
it would
So
be a
he's in
moment.
the process of being vetted?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner.
You're welcome, ma'am.
And I don't know if, I know that we had talked to Commissioner O'Connor about some of the year-end appointments, but we can follow up with him to
Yeah.
see. And then if you want to continue going through that, City Clerk. The Housing Appeals Board, Daniel, if we could also pull if there's anybody new that has come through for this body, don't worry about doing it in real time right now. Yeah. But I know that this is one, I've talked to a couple people. I know Commissioner Reppert, you had talked to a couple of people. Commissioner Moody, I think we also discussed this at the end of the year. This is usually a good body for people who want some good insight into the city and being a part of a body. But I don't recall anybody else new at the end of the year, so we'll review that. And I think that might be all of them that I have updates on. Certainly, Joel, City Clerk, you had shared ones about the compensation board, but we've got a little time there. Oh, and we've got Mobile GR, we've got two openings there too. I know Commissioner Reppert, you had shared some individuals, particularly with some of the advice and consent from the department, really making sure that there's resident voice. That would be good to make sure that is brought back into that body. Mr. Kamara, do you have anything you want to add for that one? Or anything for us to consider? If not, it's okay too. Okay. He's shaking his head. So. Our North Corridor Authority, that was discussed at our last meeting. We've just added a few new members, so I think it's really, for us, some of the timing pieces. We had a full body and a lot of folks just made a decision not to move forward with a reappointment, and some had moved out of the district. So we'll continue discussing that, and that is a mayoral appointment, so working with the mayor on that. And then the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, so we still have two here.
Yeah, so I think one of those is for the ED of Friends of Grand Rapids Park, so I'm giving him a tour of the city this afternoon.
Oh, okay.
My hunch is that he'll want to sit on that for his first year in town, but then we do have one
Okay.
more.
Okay. Can we note that on there, Daniel? Because I feel, I'm glad that you remembered that, Commissioner, because we did specifically talk about that. Thank you. Mr. Stacy
Bear.
Bear.
Yeah. Flew in during a snowstorm.
Okay. And Mr. Marquardt, did you have anything that you'd like to add? No. Okay, he's shaking his head. Thank you. And Public Safety, we just had one appointment. I know Commissioner Lanier and I both have individuals that we'd like to be on there. I'd like somebody out of our SAFE committee to serve, and then she has somebody who might be new to SAFE who would be able to serve, so we'll continue to work on those. I don't have any updates about Smart Zone. Are those ones new?
They're not. There's a reappointment, and then I believe the executive director of the Right Place. will
Okay,
be
yes, it's a right
the
place
final.
appointment. Got it. Okay, thank you for that reminder. And then regarding the other bodies, as it relates to South Division and Southtown, I think, I know that the mayor sent a message, and now it's evading me if it was South Division or Southtown, that, for perhaps Commissioner Moody to serve on one of those bodies?
I believe that was the Southtown.
Yes. So I think that it was just a question if we could have multiple commissioners on there, and I think that we can. So then we can have you serve on that one, Commissioner.
Okay, Commissioner Lanier's on that body as well, correct?
Yes, I believe Commissioner Lanier serves on that body.
Will she be coming off, or?
No, we would have two commissioners on there.
Great.
Yep, that was, is that the correct body?
Correct. Due to submission deadlines, he'll be appointed at the
Got it.
next
Okay,
meeting.
I think I remember you said it because I think it was Friday. All right,
Can
so,
I interject one thing here?
Yes, absolutely.
Daniel, can you reach out to Mr. Gracia or the economic, so it's the South Division Granville Avenue. So we probably should look at their bylaws, how we changed their bylaws to the Cesar Chavez
right.
Avenue.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do
So
that.
I'm trying to figure out, every time I see the word Granville Avenue.
Yeah.
Or Franklin Street, that as we're going through our work,
Yeah.
we need to start changing those.
Okay, I have an item that says it's Southtown.
We have South Division Granville, you
he
have
was-
two of them.
he was looking at it, just the name
Just the
versus
name.
the body.
Oh, I apologize. I thought you meant Commissioner Moody's appointment.
No, sorry.
Okay, so this
I'm saying the
title-
actual title of the board needs to be changed,
okay,
but it
that's a
might have
great
to go
point.
through
Thank you.
commission or policy or something to change the.
I was thinking the same thing, Daniel. I was like, but now we're all following now,
All right.
so thank you.
So
No,
much south.
good point.
Okay.
But we're trying, as staff, we're trying to be cognizant of all those
Oh, yeah.
naming
Appreciate it.
conventions.
Thank you. And I hope we'll see you on February 22nd when we have the official installation event. You are all invited. And I think that might be the rest of them.
I have two for urban ag. I finally got a lot of interest, so I'll send you their names, Daniel and Commissioner Isasi, and that way if they come in, then we can put them forward.
Okay. In urban forestry,
Yeah, I keep offering that to people, but I haven't quite gotten somebody
Can-
who's interested yet.
can we also pull any of the openings for urban forestry, that PIFs that you might have open? So again, I think we had people at the end of the year who were interested in urban forestry, urban ag, Parks and Rec Advisory Board. And then there was a lot of overlapping, so I'd like to see what that disseminated list is so we can get that body filled up for Mr. Marquardt. And then colleagues, we have had a conversation about Vital Streets Oversight Commission, and City Clerk, do you want to share an update with this body?
Yeah, so I found the policy, the implementation policy or resolution. So I sent that over to the mayor. So the mayor and Mr. DeLong are, and the city manager, they're discussing on bringing something to the commission of changing a new resolution of the makeup of the board, maybe not 26 members and who can be appointed. So look for that coming in the next few months or so.
Thank you, City Clerk. So if you all recall, I think since I've been on this body, we've had probably 10 to 11 openings. We have a number of organizations that are very specific. We also, I think I wasn't on the body when Vital Streets was passed, but certainly whenever we ask voters to make an investment, we want to make sure there's appropriate oversight. And I think Vital Streets has really made that commitment, has followed through. And so we want to still have that oversight, just what can we do to streamline it? So we don't just have a list of 10 openings all the time. Commissioner, do you have any updates about the West Side Corridor Improvement Authority?
I don't. I know John was approaching, he had a couple of people that he was approaching and talked to the mayor about, but I don't know the progress on that.
Okay.
Those conversations.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Updates from the first ward.
Right.
Colleagues, I think that is all of our bodies. Do either of you have anything that you want to share on any of the bodies that we mentioned? Anything we may have missed, or just general comments?
I have none.
Okay,
don't have
thank you.
any either.
Thank you. All right, so hopefully the message out of this is we will keep working to obviously fill these appointments, and especially the two that we have open for the Housing Fund Board. So I'm really glad that we're almost there.
Close.
And thank you again, Daniel, for the back and forth. He knows that he's going to get a regular call from me like Wednesday afternoon. So, all right, well, thank you so much, and we can adjourn this meeting at 8:19. Have a good morning. All right. Okay.
right, good morning, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order here at 8:30. Short agenda this morning. First item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing the bid list for February 8th, 2022. Can I get a motion?
So, support.
That's been moved and supported. Ms. Skolton, anything you want to point out on the list this morning?
No.
All right. Colleagues, questions for Ms. Skolton about any of these items?
No, thank you.
All right, hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 2 is our forecasting report for February 8th, 2022. Colleagues, questions on the forecasting report?
None here, sir.
All right, no questions. That report will be received and filed. Item 3 is our warrant report, January 12, 2022 through January 25, 2022, and the funds report, 12/21. Mr. Comptroller, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. So for the warrant report here for the period of January 12th through the 25th, the city released cash payments totaling just over $21 million, which includes approximately $5.2 million for our employee payroll expense and $108,000 for income tax warrants. In terms of quantity, the city issued 71 income tax refunds and 1,089 accounts payable checks. And the tables on the following 3 pages contain all the details of those payments issued that exceeded the amount of $20,000. And then also here for you this morning, we have our December fiscal year-to-date monthly fund report, which provides a high-level summary of some of the revenue and expenditure activity in the 9 funds that count for the bulk of the city's financial activity. And so this just gives a good kind of high-level overview for those that are interested in understanding a bit more about some of the economic and operational drivers that contribute to the activity in these funds. And this report remains available to the public on our city website.
Very good. Colleagues, questions for the Comptroller? All right, hearing none, that report will be received and filed. And our final item on the agenda this morning is the Treasurer's Report for period January 12, 2022 through January 21, 2022. We have a guest this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sorry, John was not able to attend today, but you should have received the details of the Treasurer's Report in your packet. But I'll take a quick moment to highlight that we're averaging 1.28% interest with the $552 million invested. We are well positioned with our investments maturing for the interest rates when they begin to rise, which we're expecting to be soon, hopefully for short term. We're expecting that the estimates from the feds are that they're pointing to 3 to 5 rate hikes by the end of 2022.
Very good. Colleagues, questions? All right, hearing none, that report will be received and filed. And with that, we will adjourn the meeting at 8:33. Thank you, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing? Good. Let's call the community development meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, February 8th at 9:15 a.m. Our first resolution is approving a fireworks discharge permit for Pyrotech Special Effects, Inc. for indoor special effects at Van Andel Arena in connection with the Ghost Concert on February 16th, 2022.
So moved.
Good morning.
Morning. Don't know much about the group, but I do know about the fireworks, so it will be safe.
All right.
Good to know.
What do they consist of, Ted?
The fireworks or the group?
The fireworks.
Well, I have a whole list here. We have, hold on, got to turn a page. We got waterfalls, flash reports, gerbs, which gerb is basically a fountain, you know, that we've all lit on the roadside. Flash pots is just exactly what it is, flash. Salamanders is about the weirdest thing, but it's a 4-cylinder alcohol flame. You can get different colors out of it, red, green, yellow, and blue. Confetti, which I don't do anything with, and then, yeah, that's it. We go flash report. Flash report is a flash and a bang.
All right. Sounds fun. Any questions, comments? Joseph? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. It carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next resolution is scheduling a public hearing to consider a brownfield plan amendment for the Union Suites on Quates redevelopment project located at 608 through 626 Quate Avenue Northeast.
Support.
You gonna take it?
Yes. Good morning, Commission. This is a resolution scheduling this public hearing for the project at 608 to 626 Quate Avenue Northeast. This project itself is primarily funded by low-income housing tax credits, and so it is involved the construction of a new 3-story residential building with 52 rental units, with households earning between 30 to 80% of AMI or below. So that's why the LIHTC is a big part of this. The project is estimated at $12.2 million, with the construction cost of $7.2 million, and the developer is seeking LEED Silver certification for the building. So total cost for the brownfield eligible activities are a little over $621,000. And pursuant to our local brownfield revolving policy, those are eligible costs to be supported. And we're considering supporting funding of $400,000 to support the development of this project. As you know, we also ask all developers to complete our inclusion plan, and this one, we're happy to report, has participation levels at 38%. This program itself has already been, the project has been presented to the neighbors of Bella Lookout and the Grand Rapids Public Schools, and both are supportive of the project, and so we recommend setting this public hearing for February 22nd.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Any questions or comments, colleagues? None. I just have one. Because it's providing a range from 608 to 626, I was wondering if there were properties that had odd addresses. Could they be impacted by this range? And should we have single-digit addresses as to not, add in other properties that could potentially be included?
I'm not aware of any impact, but I would defer to planning or anyone else that have insight on that.
I would say it's a group of parcels that'll ultimately become one set of addresses. So
Okay.
it won't affect the odd addresses on the other side of the street.
Okay, that's, okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign? It carries. Our next resolution is setting the date to consider rezoning a portion of 1318 Plainfield Avenue Northeast to the TNTBA Zone District.
Support.
Good morning, Commission. So the subject property is located at the southeast corner of Plainfield and Shanahan. It currently does lie within 2 distinct zone districts. The west half is located currently in the TBA, and the east half, which is what we're speaking of today, is in the MDR, Mixed Density Residential Zone District. So if rezoned, it would bring the entire parcel into the TBA zone district. It's currently a surface parking lot that was used to support the former funeral home. The property owner at 1330, which is United Cleaning Services, Mr. Tim Brom, has submitted this request, and due to the configuration and the geographic shape of the parcel, it really doesn't create any real practical use of the property, especially with the split zoning district. If it is rezoned, I know that he does intend to explore the vacation of Shanahan, that portion of it, not under consideration today, something that we've mulled over internally as well. The Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on the request, and the Creston Neighborhood Association did submit a letter expressing no objection and support for that further productive reuse of that property. So the Planning Commission did recommend approval of the rezoning, finding that it was consistent with the trends of development and hopefully encourage better reuse of the property in the future.
Thank you. Any questions or comments, colleagues?
I just know they invested a lot of money in that parcel. It looks really great. So I'm glad to hear that the neighborhood's supportive of this.
Great. Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. It carries. Next, we have a resolution awarding a contract with Lodestar Construction, Inc. for the reconstruction of Hausman Avenue from Leonard Street to Spencer Street in the amount of $1,014,285 with a total project cost not to exceed $1,370,964.
Support.
All right, good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So this is the first of 6 bid awards that'll be before you today, and I thought I'd just start by addressing some common themes among them all, and then my reports on the subsequent ones can be shorter. Starting with the bad news, all but one of the 6 came in over the engineer's estimate. But to give some context to that, it was not for lack of interest. We had as many as 9 bidders on some of the projects that you'll be seeing, and they were competitive with one another, some very, very close. But we attributed the overall increase to material price increases that we're hearing about throughout the industry, and so that's the common theme. When you look at all 6 together, we're about 2.5% over the estimate. So not good to be over, but we're close, and in today's market, that's actually not as bad as it may have otherwise sounded. 5 of the projects, including this one, involve replacement of lead service lines. In fact, a total of 253 estimated lead service lines will be replaced across these 5 with funding provided through the Michigan Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. You may recall back on June 1st of last year, Commission approved an amendment to our DWRF project plan, which enabled us to take advantage of newly announced grant and principal forgiveness opportunities from the state that were made available to specifically cover lead service line replacements on projects that would occur over the next 3 years. So the list of projects in that plan contains over 1,400 service lines that have at least a portion of lead, so whether that be on the public side, the private side, or all together. And all 5 of the projects before you this morning are part of that plan. So under the plan, we're qualified to receive up to $5,000 of principal forgiveness per lead service line and up to $10 million under the plan. And so the one thing to note about that, it's an average of $5,000. So if you follow closely and do the math on some of them, you might see that the amounts vary. And that's because, some of the, for instance, if it's on the public side only, that would be cheaper than if it's on the entirety or on the private side, which involves going into the home. So shifting now specifically to this project, we're seeking to reconstruct Hausman from Leonard to Spencer. We'll be replacing the 95-year-old water main along with new street and new sidewalks. 41 lead service lines will be replaced on this project, which we anticipate receiving reimbursement through the DWRF in the amount of $190,000. 9 bids came in on January 13th, with Lodestar providing the low bid of $1,014,285, which was about $35,000 above our estimate. Another common theme on the DWRF projects is that due to grant funding requirements, we were unable to use our city's bid discount program in determining the award. However, we are tracking MLBE utilization and did so on each of these items. In this case, Lodestar will be utilizing an 11.06% participation rate. And also worth noting that Lodestar is a registered MLBE themselves. So the funding for these projects will come from the State Drinking Water Revolving Fund, the Michigan Finance Authority, the Water System Fund, and the Vital Streets Fund. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments on this one or any of the others?
No, just wanted to recognize and give a thumbs up to what I see as a consistent theme also of the MLBE spend. Obviously, very good to see, and I'm looking forward to the day where it's, in upwards of 20, 30, 40% on a regular basis in terms of participation. But this is very encouraging, all of these.
So real quick, if Lodestar is an MLBE, why wouldn't it be 100%?
So it effectively is, if you look at it that way. So we calculate the percentages because when we use the bid discount program, it's based on the percentage of work subbed to a MLBE.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
If I could add too, please.
Yes.
So we also measure MLBE primes and that's a report. So in this case, Lodestar would be an MLBE prime.
Yeah.
So, the other thing I'd like to compliment everybody on, staff on, is that this is like the best practice in terms of asset management. So when you think about, we're taking care of lead service lines, we're taking care of the water system pipes that, according to the Jernberg method that he developed along with Arden Postma, need to be replaced because they've had a number of water leaks. They're a certain age. They have required other service repairs. So they need to be repaired. Now, that's been matched with work on streets. So we're getting reconstructed streets or resurfaced streets, which helps our vital streets approach. So by everybody collaborating, working together, we're getting multiple outcomes and we're actually multiplying the outcomes that we would have been able to achieve as individual infrastructure groups. So it's really best practice, I think, in the state really of asset management based on what I've seen.
Great.
And I want to thank everybody for doing that.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that, Eric. Any other comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. It carries. That was number 4, right?
Yes.
The 5th resolution is awarding a contract with Groundhog Excavating and Landscaping LLC for the reconstruction of Strait Avenue from Wealthy Street to Imperial Street and Wealthy Street from Strait Avenue to 300 feet west of Front Street in the amount of $1,286,307.50, with a total project cost not to exceed $1,745,492.
Support.
All right, so this project will reconstruct those segments of Strait and Wealthy, replacing over 100-year-old water mains and an estimated 22 lead service line replacements. So anticipating reimbursement for those replacements of $120,000. 9 bids came in again on January 11th, and Groundhog provided that low bid. They will be utilizing a 9.56% MLBE rate, and again, Groundhog is a MLBE prime in this case as well. So request your approval of this resolution awarding the contract to Groundhog.
Any questions or comments? None. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Great, it carries. The 6th resolution is awarding a contract with Wyoming Excavator, Inc. for the reconstruction and resurfacing of Ottawa Avenue from Hastings Street to Newberry Street in the amount of $1,045,671, with the total amount not to exceed $1,571,300.
So support.
So this takes a pause for a moment from the DWRF projects. This project is seeking to install bulb outs, new ADA ramps, sidewalks, ornamental street lighting, water main, and street trees while resurfacing and reconstructing portions of Ottawa between Hastings and Newberry. The project will serve to support development of the Spectrum Center for Transformation and Innovation. 6 bids came in on January 11th, and this is the one that came in under estimate. Wyoming submitted the low bid of $1,045,671 and will be utilizing a 5.7% MLBE participation rate. Again, Wyoming is also a registered MLBE, serving as the prime in this case. So the DDA will consider a request for their share of the project at their meeting tomorrow morning, which is estimated at $725,500, with the balance of project financing coming from the Water System Fund, Vital Streets Fund, and the Capital Improvement Fund. So I'm seeking your approval of this resolution, which awards the contract to Wyoming and authorizes our expenditures in the amount of $1,571,300.
Thank you. Any questions or comments, colleagues? None? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It carries. The next resolution, excuse me, is number 7, resolution awarding a contract with Dykema Excavators, Inc. for the reconstruction of Prospect Avenue from Burton Street to Griggs Street and Garden Street to Highland Street in the amount of $2,378,860.50, with the total project cost not to exceed $3,169,800.
So moved.
All right, so the water main beneath these segments of Prospect is 101 to 115 years old. So in addition to replacing that, this project will replace an estimated 92 lead service lines. That reimbursement amount equating to an estimated $485,000 through the DWRF. Dykema was low out of 8 bids that came in on January 18th, and they will be utilizing an 8.94% MLBE participation rate. So request your approval of the resolution awarding the contract to Dykema and authorizing expenditures in that amount of $3,169,800.
Thank you. Any questions or comments, colleagues? None? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It carries. Our 8th resolution is awarding a contract with Diverseco Construction Company, Inc. for the reconstruction of Fuller Avenue from Adams Street to Alexander Street in the amount of $2,931.80, with a total project cost not to exceed $3,016,500.
Support.
100-year-old water main again being replaced, estimated 63 lead service lines, equating to an anticipated reimbursement of $396,000 in this case. Diverseco was the low of 8 bids received on January 18th and plan to utilize 8.74% MLBE participation. So asking for your approval to award the contract to Dykema and are authorizing expenditures total not to exceed that $3,016,500 amount.
Thank you. Any questions or comments, colleagues? None? I just have one question on design. I know that there had been some conversations concerning the roundabouts and that there were too many roundabouts for the distance between stop signs and traffic lights. And I was curious to know if, I think specifically there was one at Noble maybe? So from Hall to Adams, in between that portion of it, there is a proposed roundabout at Noble. And during the community meeting that wasn't well attended, I think it was virtual, it was maybe 8 people on, if that many, there were questions about trucks coming through the roundabouts. That was one. And then the other one was like delivery services. And then the other one was that from Adams to where the roundabout would be is only one street, which I believe is Temple. And then from Noble to Hall Street, there are no additional streets. So though they were hoping to calm the traffic a bit, because I guess there had been increased speeds, but then there was also some conversations about the Hall Street construction maybe drawing people into neighborhoods and then speeding down that area. That felt excessive. That's the word that I'll use to kind of summarize the feedback that I've heard on that call and otherwise, that a roundabout in such a short distance seemed excessive. And then I think the other roundabout was from, now I'm north of Hall, from Hall to Alexander. I think there was one at Fisk, is being proposed at Fisk. And again, I think it's the same thing. It didn't, because there's a 4-way stop at Alexander, it didn't seem like a roundabout would be favorable. So most of the comments that I can say that I've heard came from residents on the south side of Hall, more than on the north side of Hall. So I was just curious if that's still the current design and what, may have happened with the feedback that came from residents. I think I provided some as well. And that was obviously months ago because, this stuff, you're talking about it for months before it gets to this point.
Right. I'd have to go back and check the plans, and I can certainly share this with the team. I can follow up with you and let you know exactly which locations are offhand. I just don't have that readily available.
Okay. No worries.
I think what I can say is that in terms of the concerns about trucks and deliveries, we've used roundabouts with success throughout the community, and So people may have questions about that, but our experience is it works. Because we actually designed the roundabout to make sure a fire truck can get through. So, and if we can get a straight bed fire truck through there, we can get pretty much anything through. So they've worked out pretty well. And Mr. Naramore apparently has something to say.
I just wanted to add one other additional thing. We've received a number of traffic calming requests in the area around this stretch of street, including on Fuller, requests for traffic calming. But because Fuller is a major street, we can't use some of the traditional traffic calming methods that we have, like speed humps and other things. And so we're trying to look at a measured approach. And also some of the roundabouts are very familiar to some of the traffic circles that have been installed elsewhere in the neighborhood. So we're trying to keep as consistent with that to keep sort of the overall approach and measure some of the, to balance some of the complaints that we've had on the adjacent streets as well as on Fuller itself for speeding complaints. So
Yeah, thank you for that, because I think you're absolutely right. The concerns really, they wanted the traffic calming, so that kind of helps to provide a little bit of context about why some of the other measures weren't considered, because there was this request, but then the solution isn't something that they're favorable with. I think one of the other things, to your point, Eric, was that they talked about some of the roundabouts you can drive over, trucks can drive over them. So then it became, well, then it's not going to be beautiful. So it'll just look like a piece of concrete in the middle of the road because you can't put any beautification in it because trucks can drive over it and will likely do so. So there, those were some of the concerns that came out of those discussions. So it would be great to just kind of hear where we landed and how we took that feedback into consideration. I do think that the Hall Street construction that lasted, it was on and off because I think there was some utility work done first.
Right.
That probably was a contributing factor. And with that being done, would be interesting in seeing, if things have calmed down a bit on its own naturally because Hall has opened back up. But just wanted to mention that here.
Well, so Tim will provide a report, but this is like our one chance to do, if we were going to do traffic calming on this street, this is the time to do it, because we're not going to be back there to do reconstruction for a while.
Yeah.
So let's, we'll get you the information and see where we end up.
Yeah. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Did I hear an aye over to the right of me? Okay. All opposed, same sign? It carries. Thank you. Our ninth resolution is awarding a contract with Nagel Construction, Inc. for the reconstruction of Richards Avenue from Fulton Street to Sibley Street in the amount of $813,077, with a total project cost not to exceed $1,111,440.
So moved.
All right, so the 111-year-old water main in this case will be replaced with an estimated 35 lead service lines, equating to a reimbursement estimate of about $200,000. Nagel was the low of 8 bids on January 25th in that amount of $813,077, and we'll be utilizing an 8.98% MLBE participation rate. So request your approval of this resolution awarding the contract to Nagel.
Any questions or comments, colleagues?
Hopefully this doesn't mess up the thing. There is a typo in the paragraph that says that the contract will be awarded to Dykema, probably a carryover from a previous one.
Yeah, I think
but otherwise, I think it's all correct.
Yeah, I believe the resolution has it correct, but you're right, that was a typo in the memo.
It is quite remarkable that a water main can last 110 years.
Right.
I keep thinking that as anything that lasts 100 years is kind of impressive.
Great. I just have a question. I probably could have asked this early on when, Tim, when you were kind of giving the summary. I know that recently there was a water main break and there were some residents who had some concerns about the lack of communication. Obviously, this is planned and not an emergency. So I'm hopeful that with the lead service lines and all the other elements to this, that there will be robust communication that would also include that for every resident, kind of on the block that's being impacted, early enough for them to plan well, and then with information so that they can know where to go in the event that they have concerns. And my assumption would be that that's already in place, but when the water main break surfaced, and, you know, people were asking questions. They hadn't gotten any information. I just want to make sure that we're doing that consistently so that people will know where to go to get their questions answered.
Yeah, certainly in this case, we have the time to do that and certainly do communicate with residents on any project, but especially when you're impacting their water service and giving them advance notice and coordinating with each resident accordingly.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Any comments or other comments or questions? None? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It carries. The 10th resolution is authorizing expenditures in connection with replacement of Kingsbury Lift Station in an amount not to exceed $100,000.
So moved.
So we're planning to bring a project to you later this year that will replace the Kingsbury pump station. It's at the end of its useful life and needs to be upgraded to support some anticipated development that's planned to occur in the city of Walker. So right now, the overhead electric lines and service from consumers need to be replaced as part of the overall project, and due to the limited space on the site and the amount of time that consumers needs to complete the work, we'd like to advance this portion of the project and have it ready for when the project is awarded and a contractor can move in. So this resolution is asking for your authorization for the $100,000, which would accommodate the electric upgrades, and that financing is to come from the sewer system fund.
Great. Any questions or comments, colleagues? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It carries. The 11th resolution approving a grant application in the amount of $150,500 to the Michigan Department of Transportation Alternatives Program in connection with Colville Avenue sidewalk with a local match of $211,800 and an estimated total project cost of $362,300.
So moved.
All right, so these final three items are all requesting your authorization to submit a TAP grant, the non-motorized program that's administered by MDOT and locally through the Grand Valley Metro Council. The proposed project before you fills in sidewalk gaps on Colville Ave and in an estimated total length of about 500 feet between the two. These sidewalk connections will provide improved access to the Laker Line bus transit stop on Lake Michigan Drive and also improve access to the C.A. Frost Science Academy. The preliminary estimate that was just read of $362,300 is split up in a anticipated TAP request of $150,500 with the balance being our local match coming from Vital Streets funds. So if we're successful through the application process, we anticipate construction likely to occur in 2023. Due date is February 23rd, so we'll get those in by the end of this month, and then if all goes well, we should have a decision by July 20th.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It carries. The 12th resolution is approving a grant application in the amount of $157,355 to the Michigan Department of Transportation Alternatives Program in connection with Ken O'Shea Industrial Park Drive sidewalk, north side, with a local share of $296,645 and an estimated total project cost of $454,000.
Support.
All right, so this would install sidewalk along the north side of Ken O'Shea Industrial Park Drive. With that being a highly commercial street, there are many who travel that way by public transportation, and this project will provide pedestrians and transit users a safe option and accessible route to jobs in the business park. The anticipated TAP request is that $157,355 amount, with our expected local match at this time being estimated at $296,645, which would come from Vital Streets resources. If approved, again, looking towards construction in 2023. And so request your authorization to go ahead and submit this TAP application.
Thank you. What was the footage for this?
It's about 1,850 feet. It's basically the entire length of that cul-de-sac or dead-end street.
Yeah, that's significant.
Yes.
That's great. All in favor, or any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It carries. And then our last resolution is approving a grant application in the amount of $176,388 to the Michigan Department of Transportation, Transportation Alternatives Program in connection with Eastern Avenue / Plaster Creek Trail pedestrian hybrid beacon crossing, with a local share of $75,595 and a total estimate cost of $251,983.
Support. So moving just north of Ken O'Shea, Industrial Park Drive along Eastern brings us to the Plaster Creek Trail, and a new crossing that is the subject of this grant application before you. We've been working with staff from Mobile GR to develop this project that enhances the safety and mobility strategic plan goals, including access to a trail, considering the mayor's 10-minute walk to parks initiative. Once completed, or actually, first of all, currently the only access to the trail from Eastern is on the west side of the roadway. So once completed, the project will allow pedestrians, cyclists, transit riders on the east side to be able to access the trail without going significantly out of their way as they have to today. So the grant-funded project would follow a resurfacing project we have planned for fiscal 2023. That project will resurface Eastern and install a raised median and the necessary foundations and conduit needed for the signal, which will make the site ready for this grant opportunity that we're seeking. The grant would fund an on-demand signal that's activated by pedestrians and cyclists when they need to cross the roadway, and when it's not activated, the signal is dark so traffic can move through unimpeded. The estimated total cost is that $251,983, and the TAP portion of that being the $176,388, with our remainder coming from Vital Streets and Park Millage funding sources. And again, if approved, looking for construction likely to occur in later 2023.
Great. Any questions or comments, colleagues? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It carries. Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a great morning, everyone.
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Committee of the Whole meeting on this beautiful February cold winter day. I always remind people it's supposed to be cold in February, so we should be happy when it's cold. Yeah, so let's get started. Commissioners, we have a number of action items before us today, and then we do have a briefing, so we'll go ahead and get started. We'll start with our first item. This is a resolution scheduling a public hearing to consider submittal of a grant application in the amount of $300,000 for the construction of 32nd Street Park with a local share of $227,000 with a total estimated cost of $527,000. Can I get a motion?
Moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. We have our Parks Director here to tell us about this item, and I'm assuming the next couple items.
That is correct. Good morning, Mayor, City Manager, and Commissioners. This first grant request is to the Department of Natural Resources to support a Phase 1 project in a Third Ward Park at 32nd Street. This Phase 1 project will include some new trailheads, bench seating, trash receptacles, some of the basic park amenities to make these park improvements.
Great, thank you. It's good to see these applications moving forward. MDNR has been a good partner to us over the years as we've invested in our parks. Commissioners, any questions or comments? David, will you just remind us when we will hear about these grant awards?
Absolutely, Mayor. These grant requests go in by April 1st of every year, and the state of Michigan considers these requests and makes recommendations by December of the same year.
Okay, so these are projects that potentially we would be breaking ground on next year?
Correct.
Okay, thanks. All right, any other questions or comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, next that will take us to a resolution scheduling a public hearing to consider submittal of a grant application in the amount of $300,000 for improvements at Belknap Park with a local share of $116,000. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support. All right, moved and supported.
Great, thank you. Another grant request, this one for Belknap Park, specifically for pickleball park improvements up at this park. We've got a really great and strong partnership with the pickleball group up here, and we're excited to be bringing these improvements specifically to bring more attraction to the events that they run with the City of Grand Rapids every summer. So we'll be making some minor improvements to the courts starting this season to support some of their events coming up this summer, and then this grant request will be for a larger project, making more enhancements to this area for the future.
Great, thank you. And Commissioners, if you haven't played pickleball, maybe we should all do a little trip up there and play a little pickleball. But I also want to add that I've had conversations, as has the city manager, about this space, and the West Michigan Sports Commission is also really excited to see this. They have, over the last several years, attracted a number of tournaments, and this is a growing popular sport, and there could be potential to expand those opportunities as well in partnership with the West Michigan Sports Commission.
That is correct.
So, thank you. All right, any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, next is a resolution scheduling a public hearing to consider submittal of a grant application in the amount of $300,000 for access improvements to Plaster Creek Trail and the Ken O'Shea Park with a local share of $412,000.
So moved.
So, all right, moved and supported. David, you want to tell us about this?
You bet. So this last request totals this out for about a $900,000 total request to the state of Michigan for this next season. This is another Third Ward Park that we will be making improvements to. Specifically here on this project, we are looking at trail enhancements coming in off of Kalamazoo along the entrance drive into the trailhead and the Plaster Creek Trail. These will be nice improvements. We'll be making improvements to the entry drive as well, take care of some of the potholes and work that needs to be done on this entrance drive. So a nice enhancement project for greater connectivity to the neighborhood.
Great, thank you. All right, Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. right, next that will take us to a resolution providing for the publication of and setting a date to consider a proposed ordinance amendment to amending section 1.46 of chapter 3 of Title I of the Code of the City of Grand Rapids entitled Voting Precincts, and this will enable us to update the boundaries for certain precincts. Can I get a motion?
Support.
All right, moved and supported. I'll turn to our city clerk to tell us about this one.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Commission. Back in September, I gave a presentation at Committee of the Whole on redistricting, reprecincting, and reapportionment. And I outlined in that goal, one of the goals was to change a couple lines to review what was happening with the Michigan Independent Redistricting Commission and the County Commission Apportionment Committee. All that work has been done. There are a couple lawsuits still out there. The County Commission plan was appealed to the Court of Appeals. They dismissed the case, but then they reappealed to the Michigan Supreme Court. That's still pending. And then there was a lawsuit put out by the Detroit Caucus on the state lines and the U.S. Congress lines. That was just ruled in favor of the independent commission by the Michigan Supreme Court. But there is a federal lawsuit that the Michigan Republican Party filed. With that said, we're continuing forward, talking with the Michigan Bureau of Elections Director. They're moving forward with the lines as presented. If something happens with a court case, we have to change. We'll have to do some amendments if we have to, but we're moving forward because we don't have time to do that with the deadlines that we have. According to state law, the Election Commission is responsible for developing precinct lines. However, we have it in our charter ordinances that the commission weighs in as well. The Election Commission met on the 27th of January and making a recommendation to eliminate precinct 36 in the second ward, which contains mostly the county complex of the community hospital and the jail and separating that into the two different precincts there. And then in the third ward, combining precincts 72 and 74. 72, 73, and 74 all vote at Seymour Christian Reformed Church, so it would combine 72 to 74. So it's less confusing for voters to have three different polling locations in one place. And with absentee voting increasing, obviously we have less people that are going to be coming to the polls. So those are some of the things that we changed. And then in 2019, we combined precinct 7 and 11 in the first ward into a new precinct 11, which gave us a gap in numbering. So the recommendation is to do those two changes to boundary lines and then renumber everything 1 through 74. So, and all voters will be getting a new voter information card that will show them all their new district lines and will show their new precinct numbers. I would say a good number of voters are unaware of what precinct number are. They just know their polling location. We're not changing people's polling locations. We're just generally changing some of the numbers. But everybody will get a new information card, and we'll make that notice out there. Also, today is the last day for anything for a election for May. So I'm not anticipating us having a May election, which will be helpful as we prepare for August.
Great, thanks. All right, Commissioners, any questions for our city clerk as we gear up for this election year? All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? It carries.
Thank you.
All right, next that will take us to a resolution authorizing the formation of a nonprofit in pursuit of social equity outcomes in the city of Grand Rapids. Can I get a motion?
Support.
All right, moved and supported. We have Ms. Stacy Stout here this morning to tell us about this item. And again, this would be a resolution that would authorize the formation of the nonprofit. So Ms. Stout, take it away.
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor, City Commissioners, City Manager, and City Attorney. Before you today is a resolution authorizing the city to form a nonprofit in pursuit of social equity outcomes in City Commission Policy 959, also known as the Cannabis Social Equity Policy, that was adopted on July 7th, 2020. Part of this resolution before you today includes authorizing the city attorney to submit and file formational paperwork on behalf of the city as a named resident agent and attorney in fact until a new resident agent can be appointed by the nonprofit. I am presenting today as a member of the Cannabis Justice Work Group that is an interdepartmental effort among 5 offices: the Executive Office, Department of Law, Planning, Office of Equity Engagement, and Economic Development. The resolution before you and the presentation today is built upon the work of the nonprofit team of the Cannabis Justice Work Group, indicated on the screen with an asterisk. I'd like to give special thanks to Amber Beebe for her research and legal guidance as we navigate this innovative approach to achieving the city's cannabis social equity policy goals. In February 2020, the Cannabis Justice Work Group formed to work on increasing positive social equity outcomes in community most affected by the war on drugs waged in 1971 and resulted in disparate drug enforcement and inequitable sentencing practices. This targeted approach on outcomes will contribute to elevating quality of life in Grand Rapids as a whole. Department of Law suggested the creation of a nonprofit since many of the initiatives proposed by the work group could not be performed directly by the city, and it adds additional flexibility needed to achieve some of the equity goals. The creation of the nonprofit and the fund it will manage was within the City Commission Policy 959 that was adopted. Authority for a city to form a nonprofit is derived from the Home Rule City Act. In addition, for the City of Grand Rapids specifically, again, City Commission Policy 959 that you approved further supports the formation of a nonprofit. To recap on why forming a nonprofit is beneficial to the city, community, and the cannabis industry. It will assist in providing tools, resources, opportunities necessary to build generational wealth. It positions individuals and entities to reinvest in community where they live, work, and/or play. It can help expand the number of micro-local business enterprises, or MLBEs, from which products and services can be secured by the cannabis industry and other industries. Expanding the number of MLBEs and utilization of MLBEs is a key goal in the city's strategic plan. Also, this nonprofit and the fund it will manage is an excellent way to reinvest contributions voluntarily offered by the local cannabis industry during the cannabis special land use zoning process. An additional benefit is the flexibility the nonprofit offers in executing these public-facing initiatives. These initiatives will center around healing the harm caused by the war on drugs and may include business incubation, expungement assistance, job and wealth creation, neighborhood programming, and MLBE and NBE capacity building and vendor opportunities, to name but a few. Another way to see the connection of the city, nonprofit fund, and potential fund investors to support those public-facing initiatives is shown here. The work group recommends 11-member board of directors to capture broad voice and different viewpoints to advance the mission and strengthen the impact of the nonprofit. A variety of sectors should be represented, such as, but not limited to, business entrepreneurship, finance, community health, resident-based organizations, and perhaps those working on criminal justice and police reform. This will help capture those different perspectives we seek. In addition to viewpoints and sectors, we also recommend Grand Rapids residents, persons with lived experience enduring unjust policies that emerged from this war on drugs, as well as youth, to serve on the board. And of course, to make this opportunity more accessible, an intentional outreach and communication strategy will be created to increase awareness of the board opportunity. The image before you also includes a recommendation for a city board liaison. The resolution before you today is to authorize the formation and filing of paperwork. You are not being asked at this time to vote on board composition nor size today. I'm sharing for informational purposes and to share the team's current thinking on board size and representation. We will be back before you to present articles of incorporation, bylaws, and other guiding documents. It is important to note that our current plan is to have each commissioner appoint a board member. All initial board members will submit a PIF, or personal information form, through the regular City Clerk Committee on Appointments process. It is a hope that the board reflects the recommendations I mentioned earlier around inclusion, diversity, and intentional representation and voice. Forming the nonprofit is directly aligned to the city's strategic plan that was adopted in 2019. Similar to the city's vision to be nationally recognized as an equitable, welcoming, innovative, and collaborative city with a robust economy, safe and healthy community, and the opportunity for all, for high quality of life for all. This nonprofit seeks to lead as an equitable and innovative community investment strategy. This nonprofit and the overall cannabis social equity policy effort are squarely aligned to our city's commitment to lead with equity and leverage our influence to intentionally remove and prevent barriers created by systemic injustice. In addition, it embraces our value of innovation by by challenging how things have been done before and fulfilling community needs by offering new ways to serve and address those barriers we seek to remove. Steps to form the nonprofit include the resolution before you today to authorize the city to form the nonprofit at a high level. The remaining steps would be to finalize the articles of incorporation, file with the state of Michigan, and as soon as the articles and state filings are approved, we will electronically file for an employer identification number, or EIN. The turnaround on the EIN is usually in just one business day, and from there, the nonprofit can open a bank account. Meanwhile, we begin the appointment process using the current city process for boards and commissions to appoint the initial slate of board members. We will file with the IRS. Approval turnaround from the IRS varies, as you can see on the slide. The team will be ready at each stage to quickly advance to the next step. Then we will file the solicitation application with expected approval within 30 days. Then the board of directors meet, elect officers, and adopt bylaws. Again, this is at a high level. Again, thank you for your support of equity and the Cannabis Social Justice Equity Policy. I'm here today with members of the Cannabis Justice Work Group, and we're available to answer any questions you may have about the resolution before you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lacey Stout. Appreciate that. I'll turn it to our city manager, and then I'll open it up for any questions.
Thank you, Mayor. I, too, want to thank Ms. Stout and all the members of the Cannabis Social Equity Work Group that's here today and the work that they've done in helping us get to this point collaboratively, especially with my colleague, City Attorney, and all the staff members that have participated in this process. I want to acknowledge a couple of things that I heard in my individual discussions with you. As Ms. Stout reemphasized, the final board composition, the size of it is yet to be finalized. I heard some feedback from members suggesting perhaps a smaller group, and we can continue to talk about that before the final incorporation or the bylaws for the board. And the other point I wanted to clarify that this there's a separate conversation that we need to have about compliance for all of those who receive licenses and committed to some of the social equity goals outside of the establishment of the nonprofit. And so we will be engaging some of the industry participants and leaders in our discussions around where we are in evaluating the effectiveness of some of the other commitments around social equity that was made as part of the application process.
Yeah, thank you, City Manager. I was going to point that out, that we want to be really clear. This is a really a separate decision we have today, singularly focused on giving our city attorney and staff the ability to create the formation of the nonprofit. And then, as Ms. Stout said, there's a number of decision points that will have to be made after that is accomplished that we'll all be engaged in. So any questions or comments, commissioners? I see this is very similar to the conversations we had about the Affordable Housing Fund. We kind of gave the green light to move forward with that, and then obviously a lot of the details came back to us before we move forward. All right, Commissioner?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I think that is great to lay out kind of the processes and pieces that were brought up today. It's excited to see what could be the impact of trying to reverse some of that war on drugs that you talked about, and I think that remembering that in the mission and the bylaws pieces. I do want to bring up some of the unintended consequences that sometimes we deal with at appointments. I'm kind of looking at my colleagues, kind of going through the Housing Fund Board. There have been some challenges where maybe people might have it's taken a little bit longer, or there's been some questions about some of the things on the PIF. And so I want us to kind of remember that as we move forward in that process. I know that's all being proposed right now, but that PIF process, we are governed by that in a different way than probably other nonprofits would be. And so if the goal is to really make sure we have those who have some of that real life experience and have been harmed, what are some unnecessary barriers that, the PIF process that is not just us, but from the state of Michigan, you would need to consider. So that's one thing I don't need an answer on that, but I think it's still good to discuss at that time. And I appreciate what you said, City Manager, about the numbers, and probably in most boards, we would say up to 11 or up to whatever, and then we would deem that appropriate, especially knowing that the establishment of an organization versus, sort of lifting it off the ground, those are two different roles. And something also to consider is the terms. I think when we think about what that would be in the future is, again, maybe getting a little bit in the weeds, but I think these things will help us to just make sure this work can happen as quickly as possible. So how many people will come in, and how can we establish those staggered terms to ensure the most support for this new organization?
Yeah, those are all great points. Thanks, Commissioner. All right, any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. All right, Commissioners, that will take us to our last item, and this is the National Community Survey launch. So as you can recall, we did this a few years ago with the intent to do it regularly so that we could compare outcomes and see how we were progressing and hopefully improving, especially the services that we provide and giving our community an opportunity to weigh in. So do I need a motion, City Attorney, for this one, or is this just, it's not an action item, is it? No, okay. So I won't call for support. Just turn it over to our Communications Director, David Green.
Good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. So this is actually just a brief update to bring this to your attention. You previously had authorized us to negotiate and execute a contract with a vendor to conduct the National Community Survey. Those notifications will begin going out in the next 2 weeks, and so we wanted to just briefly walk through very quickly what you can expect. So the National Community Survey is a survey that is done by a company called Polco NCS. It is a proprietary survey instrument that will benchmark us against 600 other communities, including many dozens of communities of similar size to Grand Rapids, over a series of 8 different categories related to quality of life and service delivery. We use this in our decision-making processes, our strategic planning processes, and then also as part of our commitment to accountability to determine how we're doing as a community. And so this, as the mayor mentioned, will be the second iteration of this. The first one you did in 2019. We're doing this one now, and the results will be used for those various purposes. It will be available in English and Spanish and is going to be going out in 2 different versions or 2 different tranches. It will be the same content, but the first phase will be a statistically validated version. And what this means is we've randomly selected 6,000 households in the community who will receive an invite to conduct an anonymous private version of the survey. Those results will be calculated and set aside, and that will give us a statistically valid sample pool from which to work with. The second phase, which will begin a few weeks after that first phase, will be a general invite to the entire city and all of the public and all of our residents to participate in the same survey and provide us additional information that we can use that, while not statistically valid, will add to our overall picture and understanding. So again, those first few invites for the 6,000 families should be going out over the next 2 to 3 weeks. If you happen to see those, please, by all means, fill them out. We encourage people to fill them out. But if you don't get one, I guess the main message is just give us a few weeks, and then we will be launching a campaign, an informational campaign, to ensure that everyone is aware of how they can go and participate. So pending any of your questions, that's really the only update that I had.
Great. Thank you. Well, I'm really glad to hear this. I know some of us were around this table when we were pretty persistent, I should say, about encouraging our city to take part of this community survey and actually have good citywide general information and feedback from the people that we represent based on their perception of our services. And I believe that this survey not only allows us to really assess how we're doing and compare it to our last one, but many other cities use the same standardized, valid survey, and so we're able to compare ourselves to other cities as well, which is one thing that I like about this survey. Commissioners, any questions or comments? I'm also glad to see that we're opening it up after the fact to allow more people to weigh in. I think that's a great addition. City Manager, did you have comments?
Yes, Mayor. I would just add that one of the things that we're looking forward to in this survey is getting a picture of our resident perspectives on a lot of our service areas post-pandemic.
Yeah.
The first survey was taken prior to the pandemic, and so we got the results and right when we were about to incorporate it, we've had different contexts. And so this will be helpful as we look forward to making future decisions given what has happened over the past couple of years.
Yeah, thank you. Well said. All right. Seeing no other questions or comments, we'll bring our committee of the whole to a close. Commissioners, those of you who are on the Economic Development Project team with me, today we have a meeting at 12:30. You should have received the information about that. And then we'll all be back together tonight at 7 p.m. right here. So I'll look forward to seeing you then. We're done for now.